What is your opinion on Russian influence in European Union, before and after the invasion in Ukraine?
So we had some big problems in the EU with the influence of Russia, also before the war, but still now. I see there are three main topics on problems. The first one is that we are not really independent in context of gas and oil. So many Europe countries still need Russia and they have no alternative and they don't take care for any alternative. So this is the first and I think the biggest influence which Russia can take in the EU. The second one I see are Russian medias like Russia Today. They have a big audience, especially in Germany, which I know, and the German government takes too long time to get rid of it. So for now, it's forbidden for Russia Today to send in public on official television, but they still send in the internet, on the social media, and they have lots of followers in Germany. We have really much people which believe in conspiracy theories, and they're also connected to this Russia propaganda media. For example, Russia Today make a big campaign against vaccination against COVID and also spread some fake news about COVID. And many Germans believe it. And now they have the connection between this anti-vaccination campaign and now the Ukraine war. And the Germans, which believe in the anti-vaccination campaign from Russia Today, are still now more open to believe in some fake news Russia spread about this war in this country. And then we have the third topic of influence from Russia in the EU. It's direct influence on politicians. We see it in Germany. We have some, I would say, dirty deals between Russian state and German politics. So that a good example is, in my opinion, our Chancellor Schröder. He was 3 periods before Chancellor in Germany, and after he was not voted again, he got a pretty good job in Russia and is still a good buddy of Putin. So Russia worked for years to get really good connections to German politicians and still ongoing, I think. Yes. Now, after the official war, I would say 4 months ago, Russia loses some of its influence. They get some problems because European countries want to get rid of Russian gas and oil, search for alternatives. They also get some debunking, so anti-propaganda for fake news they spread, but I think it's not enough. A big problem of this is that many European countries are not aware of Russian influence in the EU. There was a report last year from the EU, and it says that many countries not even know about Russian influence. So, for example, the Russian state pays some left-wing and right-wing parties in the EU, but the governments of these countries don't even look at it and are not aware of this problem.
Is European Union, especially Germany, helping Ukraine in this war?
I think every help, financial help or military help or humanitarian aid help, and in this way, is help for the Ukraine. In my opinion, the better question is they do enough? We have some interesting numbers which get published by a German institute, and it shows there's a huge lag between the things which was promised by the German government and the things which actually get delivered to Ukraine. So Germany is right now has only, I think it was 35% of its promise delivered. Also, we have a big problem of the fact that one point is that European countries help Ukraine, but it's more important right now to help that Ukraine will win the war. And in this fact, most of the European countries don't do enough. Right now, Ukraine needs heavy weapon systems. They need the training on the systems, and they need it in a huge mess. It's not enough when the German government comes and delivers 7 howitzers 2000, because the front line of the battle is 2,400 kilometers. So I know that Germany has a lot of weapons which they can deliver or they can sell about our armory production. For example, we have 88 Leopard 1 tanks, and we have a company in Germany which wants to deliver them to Germany, to Ukraine, but the German government denies this request. We have 100 Marder tanks, which also also is a request from a German company to deliver them to Ukraine, but the German state denied it. There are weapons in Europe countries which can help Ukraine, and the companies want to deliver them and of course to sell them to Ukraine, but the governments deny this request. So in my words, financial help, humanitarian aid, the help for refugees in Europe countries are really important, and it's good that the Europe countries do so much for these people and for this country. But maybe they should ask themselves if they have to change the focus that Ukraine will win the war. Because every day this war is still ongoing, there's more suffering in Ukraine.
Is there any reason that the governments won't let the companies donate or sell these weapons to Ukraine?
It's not really clear, because the answers of this question change very often in Germany. So first of all, the German answer was there's not enough time to train the soldiers, the Ukrainian soldiers, on the systems. But now the war is ongoing for 4 months, and I think the war will go on for a few more months, so there is enough time. Germany will be delivering Gepard anti-aircraft tanks, and they're much more complicated than a Marder tank. This answer from Germany it's not really true, I think. The second answer was that the delivery from these weapon systems can lead to this point that Germany will be part of this war, and the German government don't want it. I also don't believe that the delivery of these weapon systems will lead to this point that Germany will be an active part of this war. A few weeks ago, there was some saying in our Ministry of Defense, and we had one politician. He says that there was a NATO agreement, like an informal agreement, that Western countries will deliver heavy weapons, but it was actually a lie, because many other countries denied this. So right now, I'm not sure why Germany not deliver all what it can. I think Germany has a history with Russia together, and also an economic history from the last 20 years. And I'm thinking that many politicians in Germany want to stop the war really fast with a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine. And after this, I think they want to go ahead like before the war. And they don't want to make too much trouble for the Russian state, because it can lead to some problem for the relations after the war.
How do you think European citizens see Putin now? As an aggressor or as a dictator?
I think in the public discourse, like on social media or on the street, in the newspapers, it's totally clear that Putin is the aggressor of this war, and we don't read much about if is he a dictator or something else. But as the war's going on, I read a lot about, and I agree with it, that Putin will lead Russia to a fascist state. So I think this is maybe the way where Russia under Putin goes on. And I think most of the European citizens will see it in the same way. You have not so many people who agree with Putin and his attack on the Ukraine state. But you still have some Russian narratives about Ukraine. They were spread like 8 years before. We still have some narratives about Azov Brigade, for example. It's now part of the military and it's changed. It's another troop of soldiers. But I can just talk from the German view. We have many Germans which still believe that a part of the military in Ukraine are full of Nazis, but it's not true. So I think a big task for us, like journalists in this country, Western journalists, is to get rid of these Russian narratives, to show the people in European countries it's not like Russia says, and it's not like the fake news which gets spread by Russia.
How do you see the ending of the war in Ukraine? How's the situation in Lviv and Kyiv?
So, first of all, the situation in Lviv and Kyiv are quite similar. You have a lot of civilians here, many refugees from the east, of course, and they just try their best to make some kind of normal life. The shops are open. There's, of course, some problems with some supplies, but the people go in cafes, they do their regular work, they are volunteering. Many people in Ukraine are right now volunteering besides their normal work life. But it look like very normal for the most of the time until the air raid is ongoing. The people go to their shelter, and but beside of air raids, it's mostly normal in Lviv and in Kiev. In Kiev, it's a little bit more special. If you go out from Kiev, like 10 kilometers or 20 kilometers in direction of Bucha or Irpin, or the surrounding villages which was occupied by Russian soldiers, you see a lot of suffering. You see a lot of destroyed buildings and houses. You have many people which need help, humanitarian aid. You have many traumatized people. For example, I was in a small village to make an interview with one of the survivors. It was an old woman, and she, I think about 80 years old. She still lives in their bombed house, and she shows me where they found their dead neighbors, and she's really traumatized, but she get not the help she's needed, because in some kind there are not enough supplies. There's not enough humanitarian aid, even so near at the capital. So yes, Kiev is quite now, it's a good place for living, I would say. Not a safe place. We saw it a few days ago when a rocket hit Kiev again. But for most of the time it's safe. But if you just go 20 kilometers away from Kiev and see all of this destroying, and there is not enough money to rebuild anything, and we still have the fear that Russia will push again in direction of Kiev, it's a brutal situation there. Yes, and to the second question, what I think about the end of this war, or how long this will be ongoing, I can say I didn't see any peace in a short time period. I see that Russia still moves more troops to Ukraine. I see that Russia still put more troops to Belarus. The Russian offensive is slow, but it's still going on. meter for meter in Donbas region. And they will not stop if Donbas region will fall. So I think the only way to stop this war is to help Ukraine win this war. And we help Ukraine in our Western countries with heavy weapon systems. So how long the war is ongoing, it depends on the Western allies of Ukraine.
Is NATO ready to protect Baltic countries?
I think overall, NATO is ready for this. We see a lot of troop movement to Europe countries from America, for example. We need to see a lot of equipment which gets delivered to these countries to protect these countries. We see some new contracts in the Baltic states. But also, not every NATO ally is ready for it. Germany, for example, is not ready for a war. Our Ministry of Defense says by itself, right now our German army, the Bundeswehr, is not really ready for a war. So I think there are a few NATO countries which has to give more money to their army and has to look to make it more efficient, because right now I can say the German army is not efficient and we have to change it. I'm not sure how close we are to a war with Russia and NATO. It's impossible for me to say, because the news are, it's not really clear what will be happened next. But I can say that in case of war, there will be some NATO countries will be more helpful than others.